Is year 2 of BYU's Big 12 era going to go better than year 1? Well, the man in charge of that, BYU head coach Kalani Sitake, sat down with me in an exclusive one-on-one conversation to talk about that topic, as well as a bevy of others that you'll only see and hear right here on Locked On Cougars.
You are Locked On Cougars, your daily podcast on the BYU Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jake Hatch, your host here on Locked On Cougars, resident BYU insider. Thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. Appreciate all of you who like to call everydayers right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. This is your original daily podcast focused on the BYU Cougars, and today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. First, I should say welcome back from the holiday weekend. Hope you all are doing well. I had a chance to spend some downtime with the wife and kids and had a really, really fun weekend. Hope you all did the same, but wanted to kick off this week and talk BYU football. Now, it's Big 12 Media Days tomorrow. We'll have plenty of coverage of that event coming for you guys in the coming days. But I wanted to kick off the week with an exclusive conversation I had at BYU's Media Golf Tournament / Pseudo Media Day 2 weeks ago with BYU football coach Kalani Sitake. Now, he had a chance, obviously, to interact with a number of media members, but I found the good fortune to be able to sit down to talk with him uninterrupted for over 10 minutes and had a great chat about a number of different topics involved with BYU football. And I've broken it up into 3 parts, and we'll start off with the offense. Now, a lot of the concerns for BYU football reside with the quarterback position. There's no if, and, or but about it. If BYU has a good quarterback or gets steady quarterback play, traditionally BYU is going to have a pretty good season. Well, there's massive question marks around that quarterback position for Kalani Sitake and his offensive staff, obviously, as they have to figure out who will be the starting quarterback game 1 against Southern Illinois. But he is confident that BYU will find the right option. You'll also hear him talk about the wide receivers, tight ends, the running back core, which obviously I thought BYU might bring in a body to bolster that position. He'll explain exactly why they did not do that. And also the offensive line, a key piece for BYU football. Any and all success they want to have this season will reside up front. So Kalani Sitake talked about all those topics about the BYU offense. Let's hear that conversation right now, right here on Locked On Cougars.
Do you like tournaments like this and the opportunity just to kind of get with the media and everybody else around?
I thought this was a really good idea. I mean, I was excited when our sports information teams decided that they wanted to go this angle, and I think when we got into the Big 12, they do their own media day, so it was like, okay, what do we do with ours? Yeah. And it makes a lot of sense to just kind of get together and play golf and hang out, and I think it kind of gets everyone to let down their guard a little bit, and I think for us, it's just to show appreciation to the media members that tell the story about BYU football and BYU athletics altogether.
Now, you mentioned the fact that your freshman year was 30 years ago. It's the 100th year of BYU history. How cool is that you've been associated with this university as long as you have?
Yeah, it's crazy. And I've been associated since I was born as a fan. So it's been the fact that we're at the 100th season. It's pretty cool, to be part of it. And I'm the head coach right now. It's a dream come true, man. So, for me, it's like trying to do my best to keep doing right by everyone, especially by the fans.
What is your confidence level you guys will figure out a quarterback early on in training camp and get them established?
Yeah, I'm really not nervous about the quarterback competition. It'll sort itself out. And what I do like is that we have a number of quarterbacks that can play, not just 1 or 2. So I know a lot of the attention goes to Gerry and to Jake. But we have a lot of other guys that can play and that are capable. I mean, we went and got McKay, and we have Trayson. So there's a good number of guys that have experience. And it's not just that they can play; they've actually done it in a college game now. And so all 4 of those quarterbacks have actually played in the game in the college level, and so that will work better for us having that experience behind it.
What was the rationale in bringing McKay in?
Well, I think. In the beginning, I liked his game. I've known him since he's been in middle school, and so try not to be too overly biased as a coach. I really liked him. I like his game. I thought overall he throws a wonderful ball, but he has a great knowledge of the game. And when the opportunity came and he was in the portal, we were given a second chance to do it, and I'm glad A-Rod saw that and was able to work and recruit him, and it's worked out really well. He's doing a fantastic job.
We talked with A-Rod at the end of spring ball, and he talked about the fact that you guys want to get back to being more of a run emphasis and just being a physical run team. How confident are you guys you accomplished that?
Well, it starts up front, and TJ Woods is going to get that for us. It helps that you have guys that have played in games, like Connor Pay and Caleb Etienne and Waylon Lapuaho and Braden Kime. Those four have played in games and started. And so I think the experience is going to be key there. But the leadership that I'm seeing from Connor Pay and the other guys in the O-line, it just doesn't stop at the O-line. It's extending to the other positions, and not just on the offense, on the other side of the ball too, on the defense and special teams. So really, when the big boys talk, people listen, especially on the team. And I like that TJ has empowered these young men to get the rest of the team going. And I feel really good about where we're at right now and what I saw during spring. And then we've added some really cool pieces to give us some depth and competition.
The running back position, it seems like it's LJ, and then you also have guys like Miles. Did you guys opt purposely not to bring in a running back? What was the whole thought process?
Well, we also have Folau. So
Folau. Right,
having Rapati back, and I think, I mean, he's a seasoned guy, has played a lot of games and made big plays for us. So having Folau, Hinkley, so people don't get confused, and Miles and LJ, that's a good nucleus of guys that have played. And then you add some. I mean, I think we've had the pieces that are right there with it. Sione Moa is doing good. Enoch Nawahine is a really good player too, and then Pokai Honga is going to do some good things. So it's a good group. We didn't feel like we needed to go and grab somebody out of the portal because the guys that we're developing right here are going to be just fine.
The receiver core is pretty deep. You're going to have all those guys back. What's your confidence level in them and the tight ends?
Yeah, I like the receiver group. Man, I think it's going to be a lot of fun watching them. I think the key would be getting them the ball, and so the quarterback that's going to be able to do that most consistently at a high level and be with accuracy is going to be key. But I don't need just one quarterback. I need them all to do it. So, but they're such great leaders for us. They're a big part of the offense running, but it all starts with the O-line creating space and for us to keep teams on their heels when we should be able to run the ball, throw the ball, and get points on the board. And that's going to be. I'm looking forward to our offense being back to what we're used to.
Part one with Kalani Sitake right there talking offense, and you heard him talk about right out of the chute that he believes that BYU will find an option at quarterback. I am going to go on the record once again and say I believe it'll be Jake Retzlaff, game one against Southern Illinois. I think that he is the incumbent. I think BYU is most comfortable with him right now, but that does not mean that in the 2 weeks I would give BYU to make a decision in training camp as to who their QB1 is going to be, at least in the early run of the season. A guy like Gerry Bohanon can make a strong run at this. I'm getting the sense, and I don't know this for certain, but I'm getting the sense that McKay Hillstead probably is going to be out of the mix. I would imagine that today, and I think the whole thought process for BYU going into the seasen is that Trayson Bourget is going to be your number 3 quarterback going into the season. That does not mean that Hillstead cannot make an impression in training camp and vault himself up the depth chart, but I think with how far behind he is at this juncture, it's probably going to be a season where he's going to have to sit and learn, which wouldn't be a bad thing. He can kind of sit back, learn the ins and outs of this offense, and then hopefully the year after that kind of hit the ground running and continue to work his way up the depth chart. It's not a bad thing that he maybe comes in and competes, but I do think it's a 2-horse race right now for the starting quarterback job, and it will be interesting to see if Jake Retzlaff can lock it down and make the position his own. It's also interesting to hear about the running backs. I was very intrigued about LJ Martin and obviously the hopes that he is going to take the next leap and become the guy for BYU at running back. The other part is that you heard him talk about Hinkley Rapati, a guy that they thought was going to have a big season a year ago, and he's coming back off of a knee injury. He was on the Wise Guy podcast not too long ago with Dave McCann and Blaine Fowler and said that he is excited to be back on the field, and we'll see what happens. I think the by committee approach for running back is probably the best feature for BYU at this juncture, but obviously any and all success, both of those position groups, speaking of quarterback and running back, could and want to have, will need to have the offensive line in front of them doing their thing. We've had Connor Pay on this podcast, and he is extremely bullish that BYU's offensive line will have a resurgence this year. According to Kalani Sitake, it sounds like that is his belief as well. Now, could that be them bloviating on and trying to make us feel good in the lead up to a season that could come apart at the seams? Maybe so. But I am going to take the tactful approach and say that I think Kalani Sitake has got confidence that this offense is going to be better than I think most of us, yours truly included, are giving them credit for. And ultimately, time will tell if he is right or if he is wrong. All right, coming up in just a second, we're going to let you guys hear part 2 of that conversation. A great chat about Jay Hill, the Jay Hill experience on defense, his confidence level, speaking of Kalani Sitake, and where the defense is today versus where he expects it to go. We'll talk about that as we roll on right here on Locked On Cougars. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Now, if you are looking to go out to the ballpark this summer, no matter where it is, MLB games are the absolute best. I absolutely crave getting out to the ballpark, being able to sit back with a hot dog and a drink and just sit back and enjoy high-level baseball. There's nothing like it, and that is the best part about summer, it feels like, in many respects. And Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace in Major League Baseball, which makes getting your tickets easier and faster. And the best part is their ticket prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying your MLB tickets and makes it as simple as possible. The best part is they've got all the guarantees you could ever want. Lowest price guarantee, ticket coverage, the most flexible customer service policy in the game ticketing industry. They've got you guys taken care of no matter what may come in your efforts to get out to the ballpark this summer. So take the guesswork out of buying your MLB tickets and do it with our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, excuse me. Create an account and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account and redeem the promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. If you guys are looking for something to check out, I want you guys to check it out. It's the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. It's courtesy of our friends here at Locked On. It's on YouTube. It's also now available on the Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's called Locked On Sports Today. It is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league as well. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Amazon Fire TV channels app or on YouTube. All right, part 2 of the conversation I had with Kalani Sitake coming up right away. Now, BYU's defense last year, Jay Hill came in and revamped the whole style, the whole mentality, the whole kit and caboodle when it came to BYU's defense, as they've been playing under Elisa Tuiaki and Ed Lamb's direction the previous 6 seasons. That Kalani Sitake, 7 seasons, 8 seasons, whatever. You get the point. First year under Jay Hill, obviously had its successes, also had its major failures. It's going to take time to get the mix right and obviously get the best defense out on the field that Kalani Sitake aspires to have. That is why he brought Jay Hill from Weber State to be his associate head coach and, more importantly, his defensive coordinator. He believes that Jay Hill can get this right and can make BYU's defense the unit that Kalani aspires for it to be, and also make it a strength of this BYU football program. We talk all the time that BYU's history is just replete with all kinds of offensive stars in its history. What goes unnoticed is really, really good defenses in BYU football history have gotten overshadowed by just absolutely just incredible offenses. There have been very good defenses under different head coaches, obviously none bigger than Lavelle Edwards in their runs at BYU. And Kalani Sitake has had some pretty stingy defenses in his own right. But he believes that Jay Hill will get this defense right, and more importantly, get them playing on the same page where they have a better performance this year in year 2 of the Big 12 than the previous encounters.
Year 2 with Jay Hill, does it feel like he's settled in? Has anything changed at all?
Yeah, the defense is not an easy one to grasp. So pretty complicated, and you got to just work in the system. I think we've had like bits and parts of it in the last 8 years, and the last 7 years, and last year just kind of going completely into it. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do when you're shifting that much into it. But the second year and actually spring ball, I was really excited when I saw that it started to really take shape, and we knew that was going to be, we had to lay the foundation at some point. But I think we can start building some really cool things and adding some parts, and the guys being their second year is going to be the familiarity with it. being able to know when you can freelance, when you can work the system instead of in the year one you're just trying to do what's right and what's actually required of you. Now our guys are able to do some other things, and that usually turns into playmaking ability.
And talking with guys, a lot of the defensive linemen pointed to the fact that they had to kind of learn a whole new, I guess, thought process with that. Do you feel like they've come along where they'll be able to hold up better against the run?
Yeah, and it's the knowing the entire what your role is,
Sure.
and why it matters. And so Jay's done a great job educating the guys in there. We have some seasoned guys and guys that have a lot of experience in football games, but the second year in this defense is going to be helpful for them. I promise. I mean, it's going to happen. We saw it in spring. I think Jay, you can see him. You can talk to him. He's really confident, and I share the same confidence that he has.
But you've brought in guys like Gerry and Chad Kay to help out with that. How big have their roles been in helping essentially just establish what they need to do out there on the field?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's you don't have anything that goes. Sometimes there's certain things that you don't see. Now we're able to see it all. That's why having Chad and Gerry involved is key. I mean, Chad's a lot more involved in the front, but he's coached at a lot of different places and P5 level, and then he's also had experiences with myself, Dave Aranda, and so looking at what the expertise that he brings is awesome. Gerry is trying not to get in the way, but he's like, we all speak the same language, we all work the same system, and it just made a lot of sense for him to come and help us out, and that way all the details are getting taken care of. And that's I think when we were installing the new system, sometimes the folks on the details weren't done well enough, and now we're getting a lot of that.
Jack Kelly took a lot of the headlines in spring ball, but I don't think people can discount what Ben Bywater brings back as he comes back as well. What do you expect from that linebacking core?
Well, I mean, I think more than anything, Ben's leadership is awesome. So even when he wasn't on the field and he was injured last year, it was important that he was able to do things by helping Harrison come along, helping Ace Kafusi and all the other guys in that group, Ciale and Isaiah. That group is really, really deep and with tons of talent. So having Ben be the leader of them is important for us. But Jack has actually come in and done a great job being a leader as well. We have a lot of playmakers. It's just getting them in the right position so that they can just go and make those plays. And then defensively, just winning a lot more first and second down so we can create some havoc on third.
Jay might be the only coach that could probably go 7, 8, 9, 10 guys at safety deep and still continue to get production out of it.
Yeah.
How impressive was that, and how are you expecting the back end to be better this year?
The defensive backfield is his expertise. I mean, I've been around and coached a lot of different places with a lot of different people, and Jay Hill is one of the best I've ever been around. So it's not just limited to the safeties. He knows the corner position. He knows the nickel position, and he can put all of that together. And so I don't have any concerns with him in the back end. And then you combine that with Gennaro Guilford, who is one of the best technicians I've ever been around, and we should have some great production. So the key is you can't make these. You got to get to the quarterback. Don't make these guys have to cover too long. But if they need to, they can do it. They've proven that. It's just more about us trying to impose our will on teams, and we got to get that done. So it obviously wasn't good enough last year, and we know that. But we have addressed a lot of the deficiencies, and I'm excited to see what a lot of people don't know. We already know it's going to happen.
There you have it, Kalani Sitake talking about a secondary in that last little stanza there. And you heard him say that Gennaro Guilford is going to be a big piece of this. There's a reason why Gennaro was the only holdover from BYU's previous defensive staff. He was the one guy who seemed to have it figured out, obviously, and his cornerbacks have been playing outside their minds. He talked about the fact Jay Hill will find a solution to the safety spot simply due to the fact he's got so many bodies there. There's no reason to think that he can't get that right. But also, I was encouraged to hear that Kalani believes that the defensive line will hold up better this year for BYU in the Big 12. I think simply for experience's sake, having those guys having gone through an entire season of the Big 12 schedule, understanding what it's going to take to hold up better against this, preparing their bodies better, obviously having a new strength and conditioning staff has got a full complement of strength and conditioning coaches to get those guys' bodies right. The hope is that the BYU defense will have a better performance this season. If they don't, obviously there's going to be a lot of concerns about the future success that BYU can have in the Big 12. I believe that BYU's offense has got the ability to really surprise some folks this fall. BYU's defense, on the other hand, it's going to be a major question mark until proven otherwise. I know that Jay Hill wants to get it right. He is absolutely driven to make sure that his defense is as good as possible. That's what he aspires to have every time he goes out on the field. Even as a head coach at Weber State, his teams were very, very good on defense. And he has brought in guys like Mark Collins, like Jack Kelly. Previously, he had Eddie Heckert and Camden Garrett, who played for him at Weber State and have brought that standard that he expects from Ogden to Provo. And the hope is that a number of other guys that have been in the program now for over a year at this point have gone through 2 spring practices with Jay Hill, an entire season last year in the Big 12 with him coordinating this defense. They understand what it's going to take to run this defense at a high level, and more importantly, have success on the field in the Big 12. I believe that Kalani Sitake has faith in Jay Hill. I've got faith that Jay Hill will get this right given the adequate time. It may not be the defense that he hopes to have maybe until next year, quite honestly, but I think you'll see an improved product as soon as this coming fall for BYU on defense. And any improvement, it feels like, could be a big key to BYU getting to 6 wins next year. Now, not next year, this year, excuse me. This fall, BYU getting to 6 wins. But the other part is that it may not show up in spades. That's the other thing about this. It's going to be a step-by-step process. And I think that Jay Hill, he tore this thing clear down to the foundation and has been building it piece by piece to make sure that he doesn't skip any steps and overlook something that may have a catastrophic flaw in this defense. Like I said, it will take time to get it right, but when it is run right, this is a defense that is among the elite in college football. You have to look no further than Kyle Whittingham's reputation of his entire coaching tenure at Utah. That's what BYU is aspiring to have. BYU will get there one day. Just give it time, and it will work. It's that whole, the Novocaine line from Remember the Titans. Coach, it's like Novocaine. It works every time. Just give it time. Or I'm butchering that quote, but you guys get what I'm talking about. All right. We'll finish up today's show with Kalani Sitake's confidence level in this program going into year 2 of the Big 12 Conference. Where does he think BYU will be the best this fall? What does he expect from this program this fall? We'll get to all that as we roll on right here on Locked On Cougars. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. We say that often, but it really is the truth. Appreciate all of you guys for checking us out. If you'd like to have more conversations with myself one-on-one, please consider signing up for our Locked On Cougars Insider Group. It's a great way to interact with the show. Supports the show as well. You get a 14-day free trial. It's $5 a month after that to be part of it. And the best part is the updates I'm sending out to you guys come directly to your phone in the form of a text message. It doesn't get any better than that. You're not having to go to a website, a message board, or anything else to find the information you crave. It's literally coming to your phone that you have on you. I feel like 24/7 because I have it on me 24/7 in the form of a text message. So join us today. The links are in the show notes below, whether you're watching and or listening to this, and appreciate you guys checking it out. All right. Final few things before we go on today's show is the final stanza of the conversation I had with Kalani Sitake. And I probably should say this, I should have said this out at the outset, but a big thank you to Kalani for taking the time. He is so gracious as a head coach. There's a lot of head coaches out there who would not take well over, that whole event started at 8 a.m. shotgun start. The media started showing up around 6:30, 7 o'clock, and the thing didn't end until 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's an entire workday, essentially, for Kalani Sitake that he gave up to be with the media, to interact with us, to make us feel welcome. He is an absolute stud. Speaking of Kalani Sitake, I can never say enough good things about this man. I know that he obviously is a guy that is under pressure as a head coach because he's got to get it right. Obviously, 5-7 in year 1 of the Big 12 leaves a bad taste in everybody's mouth, his mouth included. But I can tell you this much, based on the clip you're about to hear, or see, I should say. Kalani Sitake, I think, is fairly confident in his program, and he thinks they will bounce back in a big way. And that might be debatable on what a big way is. But here's Kalani Sitake on his confidence level about his program going into year 2 in their Big 12 era.
What is your confidence level in this team right now? Because there's a lot of people out there, there's a lot of naysayers, for lack of a better term, out there. But what is your confidence level in your team?
I feel great about this team. The naysayers are the ones that don't know. They don't know all the parts that are coming in. They don't know the development of our players and even our returning players, our veterans. So we see it. And when you don't know, it's easy just to not to vote for somebody. So I get it. And so it's just we have a different perspective because we've seen it. And I feel really good about this second year going to Big 12.
You're coming up on a decade as BYU's head coach. Do you feel like you've settled in at this point? Like, what's your feeling looking at your past, but also looking at the future now?
I can't believe it's been that many years. You know, I'm going to year 9. I'm having so much fun. I love it. I'm getting older. That's the only thing. But this is a lot of fun. This is something that I enjoy. I hate saying that it's work because I love this life. You know, so being involved with football, with the people, the fans, all of it, I just absolutely enjoy. And so it's been a dream come true. I'm going to keep rolling with it as long as I can.
Last thing for me is, as you look forward to the season, what's been the biggest difference from the independent era to the Big 12 era now that you've got a year of experience underneath your belt?
Well, just access and then the ability to get to certain players, recruits, things like that. There's a curiosity out there about us, and so it's brought more eyes. And now that it's kind of like the excuses that people used to always use against us in recruiting is that, oh, well, they're not in a power conference. Well, now we are in a power conference. And then now the excuses are from our opponents, oh, they've only been in the power conference for 1 year. So it's like, people are always going to have things to say. I love the ways that we're trending. Obviously, we know the deficiencies, the areas of improvement that we need to make. We're addressing them, and we'll all find out in August. It'll be a lot of fun.
There you have it, Kalani Sitake, BYU football coach. And hey, like I said, I get the sense that he likes where BYU is being positioned. Now, at the time I recorded this interview, he did not know that BYU is picked 13th in the media poll in the Big 12, but I think he understood they were going to be near the bottom of that poll. And I understand, just having talked with other players and coaches at that event, this is a football program that feels like they've got something cooked up. Now, does that mean that they improve by 1 game and go to 6-6 and get to the postseason? Maybe so. The sense I get from this football program is they believe they can go shock the world, to use that expression. And okay, shock the world is all relative. It's shock the world. If you go 10-2, yeah, that's absolutely going to shock the world. Jumping from 13th spot in the Big 12, if you're 10-2, you're probably 1, 2, or 3 in the conference. But the other thing is, you can have a really good season and still go a 7-5 or 8-4. That's just the dog-eat-dog nature of what the Big 12 is going to be going forward. And I feel like it's going to really show this season. I look at the top 5 teams who garnered first place votes in the Big 12 media poll, and I think any one of them, you have an argument for why they should be the favorite in the conference. The funny thing is, those 5 teams, plus I think a couple others, I think teams like Iowa State would like something to say about it, UCF, even the Cougars, speaking of BYU, should feel confident that on any given afternoon or evening or whenever you play these games, you can go out there and beat the team in front of you and really send the conference for a loop. That's the fun part about being part of a conference, is you have the chance to play spoiler, and if you're the favorite, you have a chance to get upset. That, I think, is why I think the Big 12 this fall could be one of those leagues that at the end of the regular season, everybody's like, what in the world happened to this league? Because they just keep beating each other up. Could we have 2 9-3 teams playing for the Big 12 title? I'm not discounting that possibility being a reality come the end of the season. I really do think this league has that ability to really eat its own. Now, does that yield a true contender for a national title? Probably not in most people's eyes, but that's the nature of the beast. You have to go out there and prove it on a week-by-week basis. And I think Kalani Sitake, better than most, understands what his program is going up against when they compete in this league. And it's anybody's guess as to how the Cougars will perform overall, but I really look forward to this season. I love football season. It feels like it's just literally on the doorstep here. Big 12 Media Days today, not today. Speaking of tomorrow and Wednesday down there in Las Vegas, I am wholly bummed I'm not going to be able to make it down this year. I had everything set up to go, but work needs necessitated I remain here in Salt Lake City, and hey, it is what it is, but we will have plenty of coverage for you. The news and notes coming out of Big 12 Media Day, we'll have those covered for you later on this week. And also more of these conversations I had during that BYU Media Day. I talked with both of the contending quarterbacks. Speaking of Jake Retzlaff and Gerry Bohanon, had a chat with Cody Epps. There's a lot of intel coming your way on this podcast, so do not miss it. The month of July is usually one that seems to kind of slow down before we really ramp up for fall camp. I have no plans to slow down anytime soon. So stick with us. A big thank you to all of you, as we always say, for making Locked On Cougars your first listen and also your first view if you're watching this on YouTube. And obviously, a big thank you to all of you who like to call everydayers right here on the podcast as well. And until tomorrow, my friends, this has been the Locked On Cougars podcast.